Greetings and welcome to Chant Day. It is Sunday. Yep. It is Sunday. We are here. Excited to be here and excited to yesterday's word was excited, and I didn't get to share the word of the day because I was traveling from one island to the next, getting groceries for my mom. So, we're going through a grieving right now. My dad has passed away. So when people are not kind during that time, they're going to reap the unkindness that they're giving. So please be kind to someone who is grieving. Be kind to them. Show them mercy. Put aside your pettiness and be respectful. Be respectful, okay? When you want respect, you have to give it. You can't get it if you don't give it. So you got to give the respect in order to get that. So let's start. Let's start with the Psalm today. And the Psalm today is Psalm 16. And it's, righteousness will not abandon I and I life. So when people leave, people pass, people go, righteousness is there. It is not going to disappear. When the person leaves, that's not what's going to happen. So when we look at the Psalm today, I need to put this up somewhere. When we look at the Psalm today, we are looking at how goodness and mercy and righteousness is steadfast. It's a steadfast love. It's a steadfast love. So with that steadfast love, you have a future. Okay, you have a future. So let's get into the Psalm today. There's mosquitoes. Let's get into the Psalm today. So Psalm 16. This is Psalm 16, and it's called Goodness and Mercy Will Not Leave I and I Life. Okay? You may be going through a hard time, but goodness and mercy will not leave. It's going to be there once you tap into that. And the verse today talks about that. I'll start with the verse of the day. When you keep the commands, and the commands is to love one another, right? When you keep these commands, you will remain in that love, in that space, right? When you keep the commands. And the commands is to do good to others as you like them to do to you. You know, that's the command. And it's the same as having kept I and I Father's commands and remain in love. So you see the verse today coming from John 15, verse 10. When you keep in goodness and mercy and righteousness, when you keep in that space, and you will remain in that space, You will remain in that space. And just as ones before you have kept the commands and they have remained in love, in that steadfast love, you can see it in such ones before. From such time ago, we've had ones who have kept the steadfast love and have maintained it to the point where they now have received it. Okay, they now have received it. So, okay, here, get some light here. I'm in my library. This is my library space. Over there is where I used to chant the psalm in that space. Now, I decided to move my desk in here into the library space so you can see my library space. Okay, got my candle burning and all that. So this is my library space, and I'm, using my space wisely. So a lot of work yesterday cleaning up. But, when we look at the verse today, in keeping ourselves in a good place, even when people are attacking us, even when people are misunderstanding us, even when people are jealous of us, even when people are being petty with us, we still have to maintain our righteous cause. And we have to keep these commands and remain in the righteous love. And that's what that love is that righteous love, is that good loving, is that sustaining loving, is that steadfast loving that does not cheat, steal, kill, or harm in any way. That steadfast love, that is the righteous love. So, excuse me. The verse today coming from John 15, chapter 10, off the max. Because love is what is at the root of it. And love is what we need to get to. We need to get to more loving spaces with people. Okay? That's what we need to do. And greetings, El Sue. Greetings of tranquility and thankful for the Most High daily. I have a mosquito coil right under my foot here. It's making me cough. Okay, so let's get into the psalm today. And I've been getting comments and feedback that people are really appreciating the translation of the psalm. They feel, some people are giving me feedback in terms of how powerful the liberation of the words, because the Bible is getting ready to be put into the southern state schools. And their translation is I don't want to say ancient, but their translation is the slave master's translation to enslave. So, with that being said, I'm glad that now this has happened. It's happened for a reason to translate. So, let's get going with it. And I have my hot tea. Oh my goodness. So refreshing. Hot tea with a squeeze of lemon. Perfect when you get up. Okay, perfect when you get up. So, Um, I saw a young lady yesterday, and I know her, a beautiful young lady, and she's wearing a dress to the point where nothing can fit her. She's about 300 pounds, and she is not even 16, well, maybe 15, but she's a young girl, and she's huge. She's morbidly obese, and her mom is obese, so it's just like a cycle. And when I saw her, this was a picture that I saw of her, I was so saddened because it's out of control now. So when we talk about the psalm today, that righteousness will not abandon I life, people have abandoned their lives to food, to addictions. They've abandoned their lives to drugs, where it's making them increase their weight. They've abandoned themselves to violent video games. They've abandoned their life to, gambling at the casino. They have abandoned their lives doing things to their lives that is going to adversely impact them in the future. So even though I'm alone, I'm glad I'm not at the casino this time in the morning, playing, trying to win back my money. This was the situation with my former fiance, and I just didn't feel good doing that. I didn't feel that. I would rather be at the botanical garden walking around the flowers. And I said that. I said I would like to, and I never got driven or taken to the botanical garden. So when people are not listening to the things you like, they really are not for you. They're just want what you have. I learned that the hard way. So when you pour into someone and they're not pouring into you, they're taking out of you and taking out of you, but you're pouring into them, it becomes draining. It becomes draining. So the psalm today is very much in commonality with what I'm talking about, and in reality with people's relationships and what, the sorrows that people are suffering, their unhappiness that people have. And this is why I feel that we have to return to this beautiful inheritance, and to know that once we are guided in the divine order, that's the word today, as a matter of fact, we have no issues. We will not have issues. We will not be ended up in the hospital. We will not be ending up, on machines to keep us alive. We're suffering. We're not going to be suffering because we've taken on the new armor of righteousness in a new way. In a new way. In a new way. So verse 16, preserve I, O righteousness, for in righteousness I take safety. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be always acceptable in the sight of what is good and righteous. So this preserving, like when you take fruits and you put them in a you can fruits or stuff, you're preserving it. You're keeping it for later on. So in verse 1, it's a preserving of I, keeping I for future use. Because if that's not happening, what future do you have? So preserving in righteousness is where you take safety. That is what you're going to have outcomes that are going to be positive outcomes. When you take safety in that is good and righteous. I speak to righteousness. Speak to righteousness. Righteousness is my creator, is the Most High. I have no good part. I have no good apart from righteousness. So, all things are working for our good. Romans chapter 8:28, right? So when we look at that, we look at righteousness as the ultimate, and that is your Lord, that is your God, that's your Jesus, that's your Negus, that's your Selassie the First. That is your righteousness. You can call it what you want, but underneath it, it's righteousness, it's mercy, it's love. I have no good apart from righteousness. So verse 3 talks about the saints in the land and that they're excellent and there is much delight in them, right? In verse 3. Righteousness delights in the saints because the saints have sacrificed themselves for the greater good of humanity. Okay, I'm sacrificing myself for the greater good of humanity when I come to the Virgin Islands on St. John and I volunteer to provide a reading and art experience for children, right? So I don't call myself a saint. However, I am striving. I'm on the truth trajectory, okay? The truth trajectory is a journey where that's what you seek for. You seek for truth naturally as the day you came to the earth. So when we look at the saints, we're looking at excellent ones. And in the saints, there is much delight. Okay? Righteousness is delighting in these saints because that is what is motivating them to righteousness, doing good, sacrificing. This is what is happening. Okay? This is what they want. These saints want. They want to, for the better of humanity. So, in verse 4 now, is talking about those who turn and run after another God. Remember I told you, righteousness is your God, that's your Lord, that's your Jesus. But when we run after another God, that's not righteousness. And we're doing things in the name of these gods, and these things that we're doing are not righteousness. They're not sacrificing ourselves for the better of humanity. Then we are running after something else. Because I'll give you the example, the casino. I have nothing against the casino. It's a business. I have a business. My business sells a service. The casino sells a false reality, a narrative, a lie, an illusion, right? That's what it sells. And it becomes people's go-to God. That's what it becomes. It becomes their go-to God. And they are sacrificing everything for that. They're sacrificing a good woman, a good relationship to be going out there to do that. And people do that. Men do that. Women do that. They're in relationships with someone and the person doesn't want to partake in something. They will go out there and do it themselves. They don't care what that person doesn't like. They want to go out there still. So it's not then about the relationship of the person. It becomes about a selfish need. That's the selfish need. It's no longer about sacrificing for the greater good of humanity. It's about personal gain and what I can get, what I can gain. Okay? And personal gain is happening all over the world now. So it's permeating throughout our pockets of society, and it's dripping down on humanity to the point where people are like crabs in a bucket trying to get out, and they're pushing others down in that process. You got to pull each other up. So verse 4 is powerful because it talks about the sorrows of those who run after another god shall multiply. And I've seen this happen to people who run after the casino, and they're sad because they lost all their money. They can't pay their rent. They're being evicted, and they're in a sorrowful situation. So, and when they offer up anything, they're not going to be listened to, because their drink offerings of blood I will not pour out or take their names on my lips. So righteousness is not going to take up these blood offerings, these offerings of blood. Righteousness is not going to pour out, or righteousness is not going to take these names on righteousness's lips. They're not going to happen. And that's what I feel sad about, because people that I love are getting caught up in that. But I cannot save them. You know what I mean? So all I can do is communicate with righteousness, because someone said they're going to pray for me. I said, don't pray for me. Do not pray for me. I don't want prayers. I want you to commune with righteousness. Talk to righteousness. You can call that God, Lord, Jesus, Jehovah, whatever you want to call that one. You sit down there and commune with that on my behalf. Because the word pray has another meaning, an entirely other meaning. And I am not going to be a prey for a predator to snatch. So do not pray for me, okay? My ex, her new girlfriend is texting me from her phone again and said she's going to pray for me because I guess she heard that my dad passed away. I said, don't pray for me. I don't use that word. As a matter of fact, you know my name. I don't know you from Adam. You could be a serial killer for all I know. You know, so this is getting to the point where it's high school immaturity. Don't, text from your new girlfriend's phone to her ex-girlfriend. Like, really? That makes no kind of sense. But you know who I hold responsible is my ex-girlfriend. She's not controlling the narrative. She's allowing someone else to control the narrative. And that's dangerous, because someone said to me, she's going to be calling you and telling you and wanting to come back to you. But righteousness will not abandon I and I life. I don't go back to anyone I've been with. I do not. And there's no exceptions to that rule. So that's over. You've lost your chance with an amazing woman like me. You've lost it. So I move on, and I wish all the best happiness out there to whomever did me wrong. I don't wish harm to anyone that did me wrong. I wish love and kindness and mercy and compassion and forgiveness to all people that did me wrong. Because I know that there is justice in righteousness. So I am going to stay in that place. I'm not going to go harm anybody. Okay, I'm not going to go call my federal agent friends and go have them deal with that person. No, I'm not going to use my privilege for that, because that's low energy. Whatever my ex and this new girlfriend got going on, that's a low energy. And I'm not going to buy into that. I'm not going to go into that energy and that place. Because Psalm 16 talks about Righteousness will not abandon my life. So why would I worry or consider or even think about giving energy to that? I'm beautiful. I'm sexy. I'm a catch. It's your loss and my gain, because I now see that this person was not for me. When I broke off the engagement December 2022, I knew it from 2018, actually, when I invited the person to the Virgin Islands. And the person did this, yeah. And I had to call their mom on the phone and said that they did this. And the person's mom on the phone was like, you know better than that. You saw your stepfather do that to me. And I was like, oh my goodness, childhood trauma. Childhood trauma. This relationship is not going to work. This person has childhood trauma. She's seen violence. She's seen her mother beaten up. She's seen, violence. She's, physical violence. I don't know. Maybe there was some sexual abuse. Who knows? But there's childhood trauma. So that's why when people they bounce from relationship to relationship, is because they have not taken care of the childhood trauma that they suffered from. So the sorrows is talking about in verse 4. This is what's going to happen. And when that happens, I feel sorry for folks. I really do. I feel sorry for folks. And my heart goes out to folks, because in verse 5, this is what verse 5 is talking about. Righteousness is what I choose. Righteousness is what I choose. And that is the portion. Righteousness is what I choose. So verse 5 is about righteousness. Righteousness is what I choose. That is the portion, and that's my cup. And that is what is holded. It's not, there's no hole in it, but it's steadfast. It's my lot. Right? The lines have fallen for I in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. So the inheritance, based on not running after other gods, that's what the inheritance is based on. It's based on not running after other gods. Okay, money can be a god. Sex could be a god. You're running after sex, money, drugs, alcohol, gambling, fornication, putting your money out like that. All of that is going to take you away from the beautiful inheritance that is there for you. And when the time comes, you're going to be asking why. It's because of you. It's because of you. You have failed, and you have not chosen righteousness. You've chosen sex and physical lust and money and gambling over righteousness. So because of that, this is what is going to be the result. When you chose wrongness, when you cheat, when you chose to be dishonest, when you chose to not be transparent, in other words. Because some people might speak about, I didn't lie to you, I didn't tell you anything untruth, but you didn't tell me anything, period. So that's keeping information from me that I needed to have. So In verse 7, what are we to do? I will bless righteousness that teaches I, because righteousness is a counselor, it's a teacher. In the night also, righteousness instructs I. Okay, at night, righteousness instructs I. Verse 8, I have set righteousness always before I, because righteousness is at I righteousness. I shall not be shaken. So righteousness is in my hands, in other words. It talks about the right hand, but it's both hands. Okay? The scriptures was used to do a lot of things. It was also used to beat children who were left-handed, because talking about the right hand is the right way. When it's not about that, it's about the hands, period. That righteousness is in I hands. Okay? And I shall not be shaken. So in verse 9, my heart is glad, and my full being is happy, again and again and again. And I flesh also dwells in a safe place. For righteousness will not abandon I life to hell, or let I see corruption. Okay? Remember that. Verse 11. Righteousness makes known to I the path of life. So, if you want the path of life, okay, righteousness makes known the path of life. Okay? So seek for righteousness, seek for goodness and mercy, and you will be given the path of life. And in the presence of righteousness, there is a fullness of joy. Okay? People get a kick out of doing good. They're joyful when they're helping someone, when they're honest with someone. When you're breaking up a relationship, you are telling the person you're moving on and you want to see other people. You're being honest. You know what I mean? That is joyful. You're happy to be honest. You're happy to do good. You're happy to be kind. You're happy to help someone. You're happy to open the door for someone. That brings you a sense of joy. That's the fullness of joy, when you're in that presence of goodness and mercy and righteousness. That's the fullness of joy. And at righteousness, there are pleasures forevermore. So I look at that as we end the Psalm 16 verse 11, talking about pleasures. Okay? In righteousness, there are pleasures for all time to come. There are pleasures forevermore. Once you stay in that righteous place, that good place, you're going to find pleasures. That's why people are not satisfied in their relationships, because they're seeking flesh and not the righteousness, the mercy, the kindness, the love. Because when somebody can't have sex anymore, what are you going to do? Does the righteousness go away? When somebody is away on a trip, what are you going to do? Go find somebody and meet somebody else? Like that? That's not a person that's a full person. They're seeking things outside of themselves to make them a full person, to make them complete. They feel somebody makes them complete. Right? And in that, you're going to find sorrow. You're going to be sad, because when that is no longer there, you feel incomplete. And in that incomplete feeling, it causes a breakdown, right? It causes a sadness. So we have to seek for what is above. Seek for that. seek for that righteousness, that goodness, that mercy, that love, because that is the divine order. In that divine order, we have compassion, we have mercy. So the word today is divine order. Okay, that's the word today. During times of uncertainty, I trust divine order because things are uncertain for me now. My dad passed. It's an uncertain time. And in that uncertainty, I have to trust that there is a divine order to all of this. Okay? All of this is happening for the good. For the good. So, we look at the word today. How often have I felt disappointed when something did not work out as I planned or hoped, only to discover a bless I had not anticipated? So when you see something is not working out the way that you planned or you hoped, in that there's a discovery that you hadn't anticipated happening, right? So standing firm in our goodness, that a seeming obstacle may actually be an unrecognized opportunity. So when you see something that's an obstacle, it's an unrecognized opportunity. When my former fiance, when I asked her about seeing someone else and she said she met someone, that what happened there was disappointed. However, there's a bless that I had not anticipated from that. And that bless is I am no longer chained to someone who is taken from me and not pouring into me. You know what I mean? So I have been released from the chains of oppression of a person who really, truly, probably don't know how to love or don't know how to be loved or be in a relationship because of the childhood trauma. I grew up without childhood. I grew up in my older sister said it the other day. We had a beautiful childhood, happy child. It was beautiful. Okay. So I didn't have any childhood trauma. I didn't have anybody raping me, molesting me, yelling at me, calling me ugly. I didn't have anybody putting me down, putting me, telling me I'm not worthy. I didn't have that. Okay. So when you are disappointed and things don't work out as you planned, there's something coming behind it that you did not anticipate. Okay? So when you stand firm, when you are in an obstacle, okay, that obstacle may actually be an unrecognized opportunity. So I resist the temptation to wonder why the setback is happening, why this is happening. I'm going to resist that temptation to do that, right? Instead, I'm going to commune with righteousness. I'm going to talk to goodness and mercy like, hey, man, what's up? Let me go do something righteous and good. Let me go help the poor and needy. So I'm going to commune with righteousness, asking what is mine to do. What do I need to do, righteousness? What is one righteous thing that I can do, right? What can I do? Let me do that. Let me instead commune with righteousness. I may receive guidance to wait for a better time to pursue my plan. Or perhaps an insight will arise out of what appeared to be failure, showing I a way forward that will accomplish even greater good. So, affirming divine order keeps a keeps I and I patient and trusting in right outcomes in all situations. So when you affirm a divine order, that divine order keeps you patient. You're not rushing, you're patient. You're trusting in the right outcomes that's going to happen in all situations. So I trust, even though I'm grieving for my dad, for my son that passed, I'm still grieving for my son. I haven't gotten over that yet. And now this has happened. I am going to still affirm divine order and trust in the right outcomes in all situations. So the divine order, that word today, is supported with Corinthians chapter 13 verse 12. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. So you are known. You were there in creation and the beginning. Tap into that memory and tap into that knowledge that you are known. You will now fully know, and you have fully been known. So 1 Corinthians chapter 13 verse 12 is amazing. It's beautiful. So that is how we seal up the word today, divine order. During times of uncertainty, I trust divine order. I trust divine order. And in that divine order, and this is a picture of my dad right here. Let's see. Oh, you can't see it there. My dad, and then my dad and my mom. My dad and my mom. Yeah, they're my screensaver now. So we want to be in a good place. We want to stay there, and it's hard because we have a lot of stuff going on. So as I end the psalm today, I want to thank everybody for listening. For those of you who tune in to the Chant a Psalm a day, have a blessed day. And remember, you create your destiny. Your behavior creates your destiny. Yeah. Chant a psalm a day, everyone. Have a blessed day. Bless everyone. Have a blessed day.